right? Because I teach, when I'm teaching my students and when I'm working with my clients, I talk about the fact that it takes more strength to be vulnerable than it does to walk around and act like nothing bothers you, right? Vulnerability is saying that I am putting myself in a position where someone could do something to hurt me, trusting and knowing that they won't, right? So acknowledging like, this is what's happening. This is what I'm going through. This is how I'm feeling. And creating that space where people can, because nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on with you. We think people know. We assume people know, but they don't really know unless you tell them. Because grief looks different for everybody, right? You could be walking around happy, smiling, and joking, but you're grieving. That's right. So nobody knows that unless you say that to them. And creating that space and allowing yourself to have those conversations. I think that a lot of us don't do that. I think that for a lot of us, while our faith and our spirituality can be a source of solace, and it can make us feel good, it can also be one of those things that keeps us stuck in that place, right? You hear people when you're grieving and when you're feeling bad, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Let me have my night though, right? Let me have my night. Don't rush my process, right? And grief is not a check box, right? We hear about the stages of grief, we're like, oh, I gotta go through the stages and what's. Life is cyclical, grief is cyclical. Things are gonna come up and happen that make you feel that way. You hear a song on the radio, you go someplace and you're like, oh, I really like this.
Triggers.
Yes, and you never know what those triggers are going to be. And it is okay. It is okay to cry. It is okay to feel sad. It's okay to miss somebody. It's okay to be mad about it. Okay? Allowing ourselves to experience the full process of it also allows us to go through it. Right? Because grief will become a part of you. It doesn't have to be the motivating factor, but it will become a part of you.
You're familiar with it.
Yep. It's just like your joy, right? It becomes a part of you. It's a part of who we are. It's a natural process in life. But we are oftentimes, especially us as Black people, taught that we're not supposed to feel those things. Right? We have to be strong. We have to move past it. We have to get on with our lives. And the reality of it is, that's a part of your life. And it's going to sit with you. It is going to be a part of you. But how you deal with it, when you deal with it, will affect how it shows up and when it shows up. So I've done a lot of talking. I want to open up the space. I like dialogue. I like communication. So ask me questions. Let's talk. Let's process through things.
You know, I had a student years ago when I was at my other high school, and she was the only student in the class. And she had just come from traveling from South America, I don't know what country in South America, that her grandmother had passed away, one of her grandparents. And then previous to that, another grandparent had passed away. And we were having a conversation, and the conversation was, at least I started it, and then she's like, oh, you're right. She had people around her grieving, but they were expecting her to grieve in a certain way. And because she didn't grieve in that way, because she didn't understand it, but then as she was speaking, I heard it, and I was like, oh, okay. They think that you are insensitive because you don't grieve the way that they would grieve. And then they say, oh, you don't care about your grandmother, or you don't care about your... And I had to stop her and I say, you don't have to borrow people's feelings. You don't have to borrow people's how they grieve. You could just be grieving in your own personal way. It just doesn't outwardly look like their grief. And it made sense for her as a young person. And she had some other, own personal things going on, but that was a layer that she was kind of upset with because her family started to call her insensitive, as if she didn't care about her grandmother passing, her grandfather, because she didn't grieve the way they wanted to grieve. Yeah.
And grief doesn't look a specific way.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to affect everybody differently. There are a prime example. Remember that episode of Good Times when Jamie died? And Florida was going around and she was dancing, and her children said the same thing. She was insensitive, she didn't love him, and all of this stuff, right? But that was her processing her grief. And then, you know, when everything quieted down, she threw it in her emotions, right? That's the way everybody, like, it hits you differently. It affects you differently. And what your process looks like for grieving and dealing with it is what your process looks like for grieving and dealing with it. The things that we can do, though, is we can be supportive of people in that grieving process, right? Being there when they want to talk. Because everybody doesn't want to talk as soon as something happens. Some people have to process how they feel about what happened. They have to process the loss that they had. Some people don't even have the space to process. Think about yourselves. If you're the quote unquote strong one in the family, when something happens, do you have time to break down? You've got to keep everything moving. Right? And then when you feel safe, when you feel a space where you can do that, that's when you do it. But hold space for you to do that. Right? So that's what we have to do when we're trying to support people. Hold space for them to do that. Be there. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. Sometimes your presence is just enough. Right? We feel like, and this is what I even talk to my students in class, like we feel like all of the space has to be taken up with words. Sometimes silence is right. Because what you've done by not saying anything is you've allowed them the space now to say, do, be, whatever they want to be. Because a lot of times, in our saying these things to encourage them and be supportive, it's rushing them along. Or they may feel like we're rushing them along. Right? Like you're ready to go on to the next thing. I'm still dealing with how I'm feeling about things. Okay, well, baby, it's going to be all right. All right, you don't cry, don't cry.
Right. Trying to hold the dam back.
Right. So now you've just told me, you told me it's going to be okay, but you've also told me, don't cry, right? So if that's how I'm feeling right now, you just told me I can't do that with you. So I have to do that somewhere else.
Or another way.
Right. Right? And that's where like we start coming up with these unhealthy coping mechanisms for that grief. Like we suppress it, we don't say anything. Nobody wants to hear me talking about. And let's be honest, we only give people a certain amount of time to grieve. Right? We all church folk up in here. You know when somebody loses somebody, it's like you have like a 2-week period now.
They're with God now.
You need to move on to the next thing.
Right. They're in a healthier place.
Right? We done had the homegoing ceremony, service, and we done had the repast, and we done put them in the ground. We stopped calling to check on people. Don't be supportive. Right? When people die in my family and stuff, I don't call when they die. I wait. Because everybody rushes in as soon as something happens. That's not when you need them. Because you have everybody there. But after you put them in the ground, all of those people fade out. Nobody's calling to check on you. Nobody cares. And then you're left alone with the silence and the thoughts and the feelings. You just had a house full of people. Everybody coming by with chicken. Everybody coming by with chicken. Right? When my grandmother died, we had chicken from everywhere. We had Kentucky Fried Chicken, Popeye's chicken, Hooters chicken. I was like, somebody went to Hooters and got
That's their favorite kind. That's their kind. The kind
right.
they like.
Right. But after we put her in the ground, wasn't nobody there. But we had lots of chicken. Right? You have to talk to the chicken. You know she gone now. Right? Nobody, the support system's not there. Yes, ma'am.
I think that speaks to how your circle is. Because this will be year 6 for me with my husband. And everyone is still in touch with me, so I'm grateful.
Yep.
The other piece that you said is, when my husband was in the hospital, I didn't demonstrate how I felt. And my oldest daughters were angry because they said, you look like you having fun and daddy's laying up here. In my mind, I had already programmed myself that I need to be strong for them. I will have my space when I can let go and do what it is that I need to do. The other thing you touched on is weeping may endure for the night, but joy may come in the morning. I say that a lot, and it's not to rush anybody's process, because that morning might be 500 mornings further down. So I don't want anyone to feel as though I'm rushing their process. I already know that being married for 40 years, losing my husband 5 years ago, I will never get over it. I'm clear. But at the end of the day, we just have to know how to go. I even seek therapy. And the first therapy session, I realized I was not going to a therapist again in life, because she told me to get rid of all of my husband's pictures. My husband's pictures is what gives me joy. Being able to see and reminisce on my past, what I've had for 40 years. Yeah, exactly, out my face. I said, you know what, man, thanks. I was done. So, it's all about people's interpretations of what is going on.
And I love that you hit on that, because I think that what we have to do, though, is because when we say things and we leave them out in the atmosphere, people interpret them the way that we have
The
to
audience,
explain, right? We have to explain to them what we're saying means, right? Like you just said, we can may enjoy for the night, joy comes in the morning, but your morning may be 500 mornings from now. Like literally saying that to someone creates that space, right? Because they don't feel like, oh, I need to, because we've heard it so much, and in the context that most of us have heard it, it is literally like, get over
24
your
hours.
problem, right? Get over your problem and let's move on. You just said, no, you process through your problem, and whenever your morning comes, that's when your morning comes. But because that's not how we've experienced that same. People don't take it that way. I don't know what your therapist was talking about. I never I never tried to explain, right? However, I would never tell someone to get rid of, right?
In my first session.
Right. Well, never, period. I'm
No,
saying.
but that was my first
Yeah.
session. That was my first
Again, but I would never tell anyone to get rid of their pictures, because those are memories. Those are part of your life, right? What I talk about is come up with rituals of how you're going to celebrate this person. How you're going to, because you didn't just, again, you lost a part of you when you lost him, right? Because you spent 40 years, you spent more of your life with him than you had life, probably at the time, right? You're grieving the loss of him, you're grieving the loss of who you were, because he was a part of who you were. Now you've got to figure out who you are now. Who am I without him? Right? You're trying to manage your emotions so that you can take care of your children, right? Because even though, with y'all having been married 40 years, I can imagine your children were grown, they're still your children. And a parent is going to always be a parent. You're going to always want to protect them, right? And you're trying to navigate that, because that's a delicate dance. Because on the one hand, okay, you just disrespected me, I'm your mama. But on the other hand, I know you're grieving right now, so I'm going to create space for that. Right? But I'm also grieving. I'm also going through it. And he's my husband. Right? He's my husband. He is a part of me. Right? So you gotta, that's a delicate dance. That's something that you Christmas ain't Christmas no more.
No, I sure ain't.
Cake don't taste like cake anymore.
Got it.
Right? Nothing is the same, because part of you is gone. Right? And, I think that's why I said we've learned to be strong. And I think that it does us a disservice, and it does other people a disservice when we are too strong, right? Because sometimes it doesn't allow them to support us. And I get it, because as a parent, we taught parents that you're supposed to support your children. As a matter of fact, we as kids, if you call me, like, you the mama, right? But it's situations like that can pull us together. We just have to figure out how that pulls us together. And every situation, every family is different. I mean, you know your children. You know what your children need. So I can't speak to that. But those situations can be situations that pull us together. depending on how we navigate them. And we have to create that space. And it's okay to be vulnerable even with your children, right? Although it may not feel like it because you are the parent and you're trying to protect them. But it's okay to be vulnerable.
In my case, it has separated the oldest girls from the younger girls.
Ah,
And I've turned it over to God, so I'm good.
yep.
They tell me I have the Jesus calm, and that's what I'm gonna keep.
You know, grief for me, I don't really think about death when it comes to grief because I haven't experienced death a lot on a personal level. It's more of relationship absences.
Yes.
That's when I think of grief on a personal level.
Yes.
I mean, prime example, Michael, Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, so leaving my students, going from school to school, being here 8 years, being here 15 years, and then now I'm at a new school, and then leaving them. And sometimes they say, oh, Mr. Gaines, you don't come back and see us. And sometimes it's like, I am grieving, but if I come back to see you, sometimes it makes me even more grieve because I know I got to leave again. So it's almost like I have to do this cut and dry thing, and it might seem insensitive to others, but it's not that I'm being insensitive. I'm keeping myself sane for right now, because I'm not ready to keep going back and forth, and then I get feelings all over again. So I have to set up boundaries for others,
Yes.
you know? And it goes back to that, oh, they think that you're insensitive. No, it's not that I'm insensitive. You better believe when I pour libation, I'm calling out your name, but I know me right now.
Right.
So I know myself. I know that when I go back, there is something that I can't, you know, it makes it worse almost to go back and then go back. And then I know I got to leave you. And then I go back and I said, no, I got to set up a boundary. And it keeps me healthy. It works for me. I'm not saying it works for other people. And so grief for me is not just death. Matter of fact, it's the least of thing that I think about when I think of grief. Yeah.
Well, honestly though, so I'm glad you brought that up because it doesn't have to be a physical death.
Mhm.
And that's why I said it's relationships. It's opportunities that we thought we had. It is things. Like we grieve the loss of our cars. Right, our house. It is a process. It is a process, right? And that is a huge one.
It is.
Relationships, right? Because they die.
Because it says to death do us part, but to the death of what?
Right. I was gonna say I had a couple in counseling, and we were talking about that, and the wife was like, she's like, we supposed to got till death do us part, and I said, till death of the people or the death of the relationship, because relationships can die as well. Right? And you all need to look at that. Like, is it fulfilling you? Are you getting from the relationship what you got into the relationship for? Right? And that is a hard process. And that is actually harder than when someone is gone. Because if they're not physically here, we can kind of rationalize that a little bit. But when you're grieving the loss of a relationship, you always sit and we're like, well, I could have done this. Or I should do this. Or let me send them a message. Let me call them. I wonder if they're thinking of me. Let me check their social media. Like we do all of these different things because that person is still here. And we think of that relationship, right? You may send them a text message or something you thought was funny. That you know historically would have been a thing that they thought was funny. Now the really messed up part is when they respond like, that's not funny. And you're like, this is something that we used to laugh at, like that we used to laugh about all the time. Right? Like I specifically went and got it because of you, right? But they're still here. And so you do have to find a way to protect yourself. And what I tell people when you're grieving the loss of especially a relationship, there is nothing the other person can say to you to justify why that relationship no longer exists. Because in your mind, we should be together. We could have found a way to work that thing out. Right? But that is a process. It takes a long time. And like I said, that can be even worse than losing a person. Because when you're grieving the loss of a relationship, the next person that you get into a relationship with has to deal with that.
Comparison.
Constant. Even if you don't say it. Even when you're not saying those things, you're looking at them and you're thinking. And then again, you go into social media. Because you may block them and delete their phone number and all of this stuff, but somewhere something's gonna pop up. I have a client that talks about the fact that the memories pop up on their phone because they have an iPhone, and all of those pictures pop up. And they're like, I just was at a place where I'm over losing that relationship, and then today I saw this picture, and it made me think of them, right? And then they went through the whole, like, they missed them and they loved them. Then they wanted to go blow up their house. Then they, right? I'm like, you just undid 6 months of therapy.
Thank you, Google.
right? Like
Technology.
we just undid that. Right? Delete those pictures now. And I don't tell them to delete the pictures. I'm like, crop them. or take them out of the stream where they don't show up. Right?
Consciously do it.
Right. Like you have, it's still too fresh for you.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually, it will find a place where it sits within you, where it won't be something that hurts you.
Yeah.
But you have to create, like you said, boundaries. You have to create those parameters of how you're going to process and how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I realized that when I was just listening to what Minister Denise had said, being on the grieving side, and particularly on the grieving side, and trying to support someone, when I lost my mother, I saw folks struggling on what to say to me, given my roles. Oh, he'll be all right. And the last thing that I wanted to hear was scripture. And I had to make that clear to people.
You know all that.
That is not comforting to me in this. I'm in the moment, and I'm okay
Being
fully
in the
experiencing the moment. I know where my life jackets are. And the words, I think the folks that were most supportive, it was the time that was spent and just not asking me how I'm doing.
Because you know how the person's doing.
Right. It's just, and it made me think more about giving support because in changing the language in terms of how you show up with them to check in without going straight to it. How you doing? I'm going to get to that in the conversation, but I don't need to ask you how you're doing.
No, like I said.
I just create a space for you to talk.
Exactly. You create the space for the person to talk, and you just there to support them.
Yeah. Because I feel that when they ask one of those questions or what happened, it makes you relive it. If you are not careful, you end up, it's like a commercial that keeps playing over and over and over again in your head, and then you're thinking you do have to explain this to this person for whatever reason, other than saying, I don't feel like talking to that right now. But at that moment, you've done this tape for so long because you got people that love you, and then you don't want to seem like you don't want to communicate with them, so you tell them the story, and then you go tell the other person the story, and then you tell the other person, and it's like, hold on, let me stop myself.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't ask, what happened, how you doing, because in my mind I'm thinking, how the hell you think they're doing?
Yeah.
Why would I ask you how you're doing? No, what I ask you is, I changed my language. This is one of the things I've learned. How can I support you?
What do you need?
Yeah,
That is
that's
my favorite line right now. How can I support you? Because when I give unsolicited advice at that moment, it tends to work against me and the person. So I tend to just say, how can I support you? And they say, I just need for you to sit with me. Okay, I just sit with you. You know?
Like I said, one of my questions is like, what do you need? What do you need from me?
Right,
What can I do?
right.
Right? Like whatever, and I'm going to do whatever it is, if it's in my power to do, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Because that's what you need, right? You don't need me to, like, you know all of the things,
Yes.
right? So if you just need me to sit with you, if you need me to take you to get something to eat, I'm going to check.
Yeah. Or just do it. If you know
Exactly.
the person needs something to eat, or even if you think they do, just bring it. Don't, I think that to me it's more of, there are some things that I have to empathize with, but put myself in their position and say, okay, what would I need from even if they don't say what they need. And then I think that typically will solve the problem at that moment. But yeah, all that question asking is not good for me for when people are grieving.
Well, I mean, and it also kind of puts you in a position where you feel like you have to justify,
Yeah.
like, why you're not talking to people. I'm not talking to people because I don't want to talk to people. It's my mouth, and when I decide to talk again, I'll talk again.
Yeah.
Right. I am still grieving. Right. My cousin died in June, and everybody's like, I don't do funerals. Like, I'm almost 50. You can't make me go to a funeral. I don't want to go to a funeral. I say my goodbyes, and while they can hear it. Right, I don't need that process for me to.
Because it's for the people that need it.
Exactly, and I don't need that. And like I've never posted anything about him. I like none of that stuff. Like, and people have been writing things. And that's my process and my grieving. My loss is my process and my grieving. Right. It's not for anybody else. And when I get ready to say whatever I want to say, I will say it, right? But I'm not going to go, I don't need to show other people. I don't need to prove to other people how I felt and how I loved the person by going through these motions.
By doing.
Because it's not authentic, right? And us trying to force people, and I love the fact that you shared that about your daughters, because if you had done the things that they want, it would have made your grieving process probably worse. Right? Because you would have been taking on their grief and their guilt and
That's the case.
all of these things, right? And trying to, right, in conjunction with whatever you're already feeling, right? And the reality of it is, you spent 40 years with this person. And if they were sick for any stretch of time, you had already started. What people don't realize is when people are in long-term relationships with people and that person is deteriorating, your grieving process starts at that, right? So you're already grieving, right? Because you can still be in a relationship with a person and like if they have dementia, Alzheimer's, and I say that again, those are worse, right? Because you have those moments of lucidity with that person and it's like it was, and it starts your grieving process all over again because they forget who you are. Right? And you have to, right? But you have 40 years with him, so you already started your grieving process. They don't know the nights that you cried. The feelings that they're having right now is because the reality of the loss is hitting them. But it hit you a while ago, right? And so you're not where they are in your grief. You're still grieving the loss, but you're not where they are, right? And I think that that's the other piece of it. People don't grieve the same. And people don't get to the same places that we get to in our grieving process, right? Right? And we try to, I think that movies, the media, everything like tells us this is how you're supposed to be, right? Society tells us this is how you're supposed to be, right? You know, Queen Elizabeth died. They were supposed to grieve for a month. Like, everything's black and sad. And a month later, all of a sudden, we have a new king and everybody's happy. I mean, she had a family. I'm pretty sure her kids and grandkids still are like, she dead. Like, this is their first Christmas without her, right? Like, it does, then you can't wrap it up with a bow and move on, right? And every holiday, it may get, I hate this word, easier, right? But that's why I said I hate it, because it doesn't really get easier. It doesn't feel the same. Like, but I cannot say what that feeling is because that feeling is different for everyone. But you don't feel the same burn that you initially felt, right? But you still feel it, right? Like I said, cake don't taste the same. Red velvet ain't the same. It's not the same. Right? It's not.
Christmas for me is good. I mean, it's been 30 years for my mom. But Christmas was her favorite time of the year. So I do Christmas. But I also see my mom starting off me and my daughter. You know, the things she does, the posters she does, the flyers, that was my mom. You know, so it's good.
See, you found your way to celebrate.
Right, a part of her.
Yep.
She decided to come back.
Like, I ain't leaving. Right?
All right, but then she does, she's like, and your grandmother's looking down and she's saying, you know, you doing good. And then I guess I damn sure call you after coming. But, you know, yeah, she's doing good. So I have these memories,
Yep.
you know, yeah.
But that's your way of dealing with it,
Mhm.
right? And that's what I said, like, I work with my clients, find a way to celebrate that person. Because that person is still a part of who you are,
Yeah.
right? I have one client, one family, and what they did at Christmas is every year they got a new ornament. Because it was the mom's favorite holiday. So they got a new ornament every year to represent her on the tree, right? You said no.
I just
She's
say,
like, no.
so can I go buy some?
It was one new ornament. It was one new one. But that's what they did, right? But you find your ways of celebrating. And that even speaks to like our spirituality, right? If you look at African spirituality, like we venerate our ancestors, right? That's something that we've lost though, right? But we venerate other people's ancestors. We don't acknowledge our own ancestors, right? But ancestral veneration, acknowledging the fact that these people did exist, the fact that we stand on their shoulders, the fact that they are with us right now, right? We can hear them, we can feel them. When we get ready to do certain things, you was even more present because your daughter's right here. You can no, I can't do that, right? Right? I'm not going like it,
She'll get in.
right? Right? But we feel their presence.
Yeah.
We know that they're here. But even like you said, with the relationship law, like okay,
You got other people that will say, "Oh, I'm just gonna put this picture up," you know, like I have altars and stuff in my house, and then others be like, I get mad all over again, and that's a different way of
Exactly.
people recognizing that they haven't dealt with it in a healthy way yet, you know. So I mean, heard horrible stories about how people even do it with their kids, and they abuse their kids because they see that person
in their child.
in their child, you know, and it's mental.
Especially when it's
you know,
especially when it's a loss of a relationship.
Yeah,
When it's a
right.
loss of a relationship and you see that person in your child, it just brings back all of those feelings, right? And don't add to it the fact that your child may do something like that person,
Right.
You know, I hear people say to their kids, "I didn't raise you that way," and I'm like, "Well, who raised them?" right. You're upset because you don't have that, but you have honestly the best parts of that relationship in that child. But that's reframing the way that you're looking at it, because the relationship was unhealthy, and the relationship died, but you have the beautiful thing that came from that relationship, which is the child with that person, right? And if you want to honor the relationship, then nurture the child. Be loving on the child, because that represents all of the love and joy and happiness, hopefully, that you had in the relationship, right? So, but looking at those things. And then, like you said, those are unhealthy coping mechanisms that we have a lot of. We overeat, we undereat, we isolate ourselves, we cut off relationships, we can become nasty to people. Even, Minister Denise, even with what you were talking about with with what's going on in your family, right? It's something that that have brought you all together, right? Because there are parts of him that they don't know that you know, that you could share with them, that you could tell them, right? But they've decided to do whatever they decided to do and handle it the way that they have decided to handle it, right? So they've cut off that relationship. And you are doing the things that you have to protect your peace and not going out there trying to seek it. Like, if it's going to come back to me, it's going to come back to me, but I'm not going to do anything to force it. And I sometimes tell people, sometimes things that are broken need to stay broken. And they can be repaired when it is time for them to be repaired. Like, we try to, again, and that would be almost, again, rushing the grief process along. It's like, okay, well, I'm tired of y'all not talking to me. I'm going to talk. No. If that's what you need to do to deal with how you're feeling, that's what you need to do. And I'm doing what I need to do because I've processed how I feel. And I've won with how I feel. When you get to that place, then we can have these conversations in this relationship. But I'm not gonna rush it.
So when someone comes to you and they have, I want to start with physical death grief or relationship death grief. I don't know if you handle it the same. What would be your initial tool that you give them?
I have everybody journal.
Okay, and that's what I would.
I have everybody journal, and the reason I have you journal is it's kind of like when you go to the doctor. And they say, "So, how are you feeling? What brings you in?" Unless you have something going on right that moment, you know what you say? Nothing, everything's good. Exactly. Thank you. Right? But if I have you journal, I can say, "Fill out your journal. Let's look at what was going on with you this week. Let me read it. So when you wrote this, how were you feeling? What was going on? Where did that come from?" And then we can start processing through that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things I do. Another thing I do is I create space. I allow you to feel however you feel. And sometimes I'll even join in with the feeling. Right?
Sometimes it's hard to even hold back to not join in with the feelings.
Yeah. But
I mean, without being too sucked in, but as
Right.
far as the emotions are concerned.
And I do that because a lot of times you've never had that space, or you've never had anyone. If you're mad, if you just broke up with somebody, and you talk about how they dogged you out and stuff, and then somebody says, "Well, have you thought about this?" And that's supposed to be your friend. He's laughing because you know, right? They supposed to be, you supposed to be on my side, right? Wrong, good, bad, indifferent. You on my side. Now later on, you can be like, "Yeah, Nick, you know what you said was a little crazy. Right? That was sideways." But at the moment, you supposed to. So in the moment, I'm right there with them, right? If you say, "Oh, I'm so mad at them," I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, we're gonna go buy their house tonight." Right? We're gonna go buy their house tonight. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna drive. Right? We'll go through the entire
Scenario.
And I'm like, okay, so we know we can't do that. But what can we do? How can we deal with these feelings in a healthy way?
Yeah.
Right? Because they need that. They've had to bottle all of that up. Because either you have somebody trying to talk you out of it, or you have somebody on the other end of the spectrum that's not helping. It's like, "Oh, well, yeah, let's do that." And they get you into a situation. Right? I'm going to, yes.
Let's go spray paint this car, because I told him.
Exactly. And I'm like,
I got some at the house. I got some spray paint waiting on us right now.
yeah.
And back in the day, that would have been me.
Right. But see, if you would have come to me, I'd be like, "Yeah, we're going to spray paint them." So what we going to write? We would talk about all of that stuff. Get all of that out.
I
Like,
don't need
okay.
to write anything, just spray.
Okay.
Stand there and just spray.
We're just going to stand there and spray.
Right, don't need to write anything.
Right. And I got you for an hour. You know what? For the first 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to stand there and spray. We're going to get all of that out. And in the last 15 minutes, I'm like, "So we can't do that, right? Because we're not trying to go to jail." We process through all of the negative outcomes of that. But what can we do? What would be the thing that we could do that would make him feel even worse? Right? I had a client that was talking about, they were like, "I can't stand my ex. I'm going to catch them outside somewhere, and I'm going to like totally embarrass them because they don't like to be embarrassed." And I was like, "You could do that." Right. And that would be proving everything that they say.
That's true about you.
Exactly. I said, but what you could also do, because what I'm hearing is that you're hurt. What I'm hearing is that you, right, like you want them to know that the stuff that they did wasn't healthy. It wasn't cool. And it didn't go along with the person that they say they are. What you could do is when you see them out, you could just be calm and be like, "You know what? You left me at my lowest moment. And you said that you never would. And you said that you loved me. And I get it. I don't want to be that with you. And you don't want to be that with me. But as a human being, you could have called and just check on me and been like, 'Hey, I'm not trying to get back together. I just want to make sure you're okay.' And the fact that you didn't do that tells me so much about you. And then just walk off. Don't even give them a time to explain or anything, because you don't want to engage in a conversation, because that's going to make you explosive, right? but then just walk off. That's gonna do even better than going up their house or spray painting, because now they have to sit with that, what you just gave them. They have to sit and think about what you just gave them.
Mhm.
And it's even worse if you do it and they out with the new person that they're with. Because the new person, they've already told all the bad things about you. Because let's be honest, whenever we get into a new relationship, we always tell the new person how horrible the person we were with before was. Right? They were the worst person on earth. Yeah, I was with Minister Denise. You know, she was a horrible person. Horrible. She never did nothing nice. She didn't cook, she didn't clean, she didn't love, right? And then you meet Minister Denise and she's a complete 180 from everything I described.
Mhm.
Right? So, I go there with them. We can talk about all of that that you do, right? How you're
Process.
feeling, process all of that. Get
And that's
all of
called
that.
processing. That's
Yeah,
what you're
we're gonna
doing.
process all of that,
Yeah.
get all of that out, so that you're not holding on to it, right? The other thing is, don't feel guilty, right? Let go of the guilt that you feel. If you know that you did everything that you could do,
Mhm.
rest in that. Don't take on other people's, oh, well, you could have done this, you could have done that. No, you could have done this, and you could have done that. Right? I did what I could do. And sometimes, again, all that you could do was be there. But a lot of times when we are in our grieving process, other people in their grieving process will try to project onto us those unhealthy feelings that they have. I'm not gonna feel bad. That's why I said I don't have to go to funerals and stuff, because I've done everything that I needed to do for that person while they were here. Now, you need to go and fall into the cat, or
Right.
jump into the ground, all of that stuff. That's on you. I don't have to do any of this.
Mhm.
I love people while they're here to know that I love them. And I love them the way that I can love them. I'm not going to feel bad because I didn't do something that somebody else did. Or the way that somebody else would have done it. Right? So doing that. And referring them, like, if they need to have counseling, therapy. Right? Referring them to those places. And sometimes even going with them and sitting there and holding their hand.
Mhm.
Right? I will say that when we are doing these things, especially for us, I don't know who your therapist was, but you want to make sure that you're seeking out culturally aware clinicians, right? There are things that we as Black people go through, and the way that we as Black people go through them, it is different from other people. And when we invite other people into the mix, sometimes in their desire, and I'm being very, very generous right here, to be helpful, they can do more harm than good. Right? Like I said, I'm being very generous because, yeah. I think the other thing is, like you said, setting boundaries. And your boundaries are for you.
Mhm.
I don't have to tell nobody my boundaries.
Right.
Right? They are for me. I have to respect them. Other people don't have to respect them. They don't have to acknowledge them. I have to. So if my boundary was, I'm not going to talk about a certain thing, my clients will tell you. Once Dr. Nick says, we're not going to talk about that thing anymore, because if you're not trying to work on it, we're not going to sit here and talk about it.
Right. Waste my time.
Right? Because I can be taking a nap.
Mhm.
Right? And so we're not going to talk about it. Unless you come in and say, I'm ready to work on this. And we're going to do these, and I'm going to take these steps to work on it. That is fine. But if you want to just come in here and complain, that's what you got friends for. I'm not one of your friends. That's why you have your friends. Right? And even with your friends, even the parishioners that you all are working with, when you recognize this person is not trying to make any progress and they just want to come and complain, and they don't want, you have to set a boundary. Because you're not helping them anymore. You're just allowing them to stay in the same place though. And if every time they come, y'all are talking about the same thing and you've given them, okay. And they're not doing anything. It's one thing if, okay, well, I tried that thing and it didn't work, or this is what I've started doing. And you're like, oh, okay, well, let's try something else. There's another thing if you ask, well, what are you doing about that? And they're like, nothing. That's like your friend that you have that's staying with somebody and the person is oops upside their head all the time. You're like, you need to leave them. It's like, I really should. And then you talk to them the next week and they still there. You're like, man, you're not trying to do anything. So don't tell me about that anymore. I don't want to hear that. Because what you're doing is you're making your problem my problem. Because I'm hearing about it. And we, as Black people, when we hear about something that happens to somebody else, we're trying to think of how we can help them, what we can do, right? It becomes our problem because we're about community, right? Don't tell me about it because you don't want to deal with it. It's okay. You like getting hit upside your head. When you're tired of getting hit upside your head, I told you that you can come and stay with me. I told you that these are the resources, right? And if something happens to you because of that situation, I am not going to be allowed to feel guilty, right? I'm not going to allow somebody else to do things to try to make me feel guilty because I did what I could. I can't go in and remove you from a situation, right? So I'm not going to do that. So creating that space, let people know, like, hey, okay, no, right?
Doc,
Like, yes,
before we
go ahead.
move, you said about boundaries,
Mhm.
and I want us to be aware of owning our boundaries, and I'm speaking in terms of leadership boundary, knowing where you are, because there are times when you know if you at 80 or you at 20,
Yeah.
and what you can give and what you may need to pass off. I remember during COVID, a good friend of mine asked me to do a funeral for the family, and I said, I can't do it. I just was not there had been too many losses back to back, and I couldn't operate in that space.
Yeah.
And I had to be okay with not doing it. Because part of me wanted to say, oh, yes, do it. But I'm like, no, because I'm not fully available to do that. Because if we're dealing with our own things, we have to be aware of what's on our plate before, because otherwise, then we're going to be out there not authentic and could do more damage.
And you don't know what you're gonna get because something could pop off,
Yeah.
and trigger you, and you don't even know it's there to come out.
Yep.
It just
Yeah.
comes out.
I mean, and saying no.
It's
is
healthy.
okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Without trying to explain it.
Yeah.
exactly. No is
'Cause I didn't
no is a complete
explain it.
sentence.
Right.
I just said no.
Right.
No is a complete sentence. You don't
Right.
have to explain anything.
Right.
Like, it's no, right? And community. Like, again, we need community. That's where we thrive. We
That's
support
our
each
culture.
other.
That is
It
what
is,
we
it
do.
is a cultural thing, right? It helps to alleviate stress, right? Those support groups, the love that we feel, it helps regulate connections between our nervous system, and relieve emotional distress. Like just having those folks, right? Which is why it's so important to know who's in your circle, right? And sometimes we gotta prune that circle because the people that have been with you, some people can't go every stage of your life. Some people you need to let go of. It doesn't mean I don't like you. It doesn't mean you're not cool, right? It's like I tell people all the time. They're like, "Ooh, you saw that person out." And you're like, and I said, "Yeah." And I said we should hang out. And you know what? That was us hanging out. We're not going to. They can't go on my journey with me. I have to leave them where I met them. I still have feelings of love and respect and want the best for them that they want for themselves. But I can't pull them with me where I'm with, right? And that's not a bad thing, right? It is the loss of a relationship. Like I can grieve that and acknowledge that, but I can also move on. And I'm not going to feel guilty because I don't, cultivate those relationships. And that takes growing to a place, right? Because you see people and stuff happens to them, especially like when you see it on social media, and like the urge hits you to like, "Ooh, I should reach out," and I'm like, but I don't have a relationship with them to reach out. Like I feel sorry for them because that didn't happen, but we're not at the place where I'm like, "Ooh, I'm gonna reach out and I'm going to do something," because I don't got nothing to do. I'm not a part of their life, and again, that is okay.
knowing thyself
Mhm.
is, from what I see when we go through things like grief or even the loss of not being able to do what you used to do, whether it's a health challenge, that grief,
Yeah, that's a
is
big
that
one.
knowing thyself that, oh, it's not, like we were talking about, the boundary is not for the other person, it is for me,
Mhm.
and what do I need to bring me back to reality? Like this, because my reality 10 years ago might not be my reality right now. Whether I lost a job and I can't spend the money like I used to spend the money, or I don't have the support like I used to have the support, and these challenges chip away at you to really get to the essence. For me, the essence of really who I am. For me, challenges bring out the best in me, and just to have that conversation with people, knowing that this is a lesson. I always end with that when people, even my students, it could be an adult too, but what is the lesson why you made the F, or why you had the car accident, or why blah 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 blah. What are we learning from this? What can we take out of this to the next relationship, to the next job, to the next whatever? Because I think it's bigger than what you think is right now, like physically, because you lost your job. Okay, you lost your job. Now what we gonna learn? What did we learn in the past that we can deal with right now? So lesson learning is good for me to bring up that. Maybe not in the beginning, but as the grief goes on, the process goes on, what did we learn from this?
You hit something though that we very rarely talk about.
Mhm.
Right? We're always thinking of like the loss of a person, loss of a relationship. We don't ever talk about the grief that we have of ourselves. Right? As we get older. Right? You wake up in the morning now. I think we all lit up. Well, no, you look like you kind of really young.
You must be trying
You
to-
made her day. She's like, yes, yes, yes.
Like,
That's your best friend, Diane.
Oh.
The only way she'll see 30 years, she write on a piece of paper.
oh, so you're in your 40s?
What am I now? 51? 52.
Okay.
Right?
I see you.
Yes.
Like really don't right. Okay, cool. All right. So we all can relate to this. That's why we get up in the morning. You can't jump up out of bed.
It's a process.
It is.
Warming up.
It's a process.
Warm that
My
up.
legs.
It's a process.
As a matter of fact, some of us have to tell our body, like, I'm about to get up now. we
About to move.
so you gonna have to move too.
She's the only one I know who wakes up in the morning, other than my granddaughter, happy and smiling and laughing.
Cause she
And
has.
it's sickening.
Look, she might be smiling and laughing because she can get out of bed and have to roll on the floor and try to climb up something. Right? But
See, I'm not a morning person.
see, okay. But that's we all you done sat down too long.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It hit me Friday. I went to cross my legs. I was like, ooh, crank, I had to jump up. Right? I was like, oh my goodness. And I was so embarrassed. I had one of my interns, I was doing supervision, and I was getting ready to be real like enlightening and educating. And I went to, and I was like, ooh, crap, jumped up, couldn't. And she's like, it's okay. I was like, no, it's not okay. This is not okay. And it's never okay. Right? But body, you grieve that loss. And social media is like an effort now, right? Because it really is a major factor in that grief. You go and you look on social media and you see people. I try to now friend all of my friends, all of the people I went to high school with that look bad. I try to friend all of them. That's just my process of how I do it. Because I look better than them, right? Like, it's like, okay, well, I'm doing good. But then you hit that one person that's your age, and they in the gym, and they all cut you like, oh my God, now I gotta go and do some more, right? Like social media, we talk about it a lot with the younger people, but it's affecting us as well. You go on social media and you see that person is their 80th birthday and she coming in there and she dancing and stuff, you're like, I can't even
Or,
walk.
or, right, or they were in a relationship and they've been married for 20 years and you like, damn, I can't keep a man.
Right. Right.
You know, social media will
Yeah,
cause
social, it does. It's like, okay.
Mhm.
And so then you start grieving, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then you will go through there and start scrolling. The old person you were with, well, you know, if we had stayed together, we'd been together for 25 years. Right? So
people I went to high school with them on here.
I know those, I have some of those too. Most of the guys I went to high school with. And then the ones that are still here, they look so bad.
Yeah.
I look so much better than them. And I would send out the pictures to people. I'd be like, I went to high school with this person. This is Mrs. Denise, I need to feel better about myself. I need somebody that's gonna be like, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. Don't I look good? Right? But you start grieving that. It's like, oh my gosh, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to do that. Right? You all know that Donny Hathaway song, Someday We'll All Be Free. And the first line is Hang On to the World as it spins around. He talks about how the song was written. He says that the song was written by one of his friends, was in the shower, taking a shower, and he had gotten older. And he went to reach to do something, and he was about to fall in the shower. He said, hang on to the world.
No.
And that's how he got that first line of the song, right? Because he was about to fall in the shower. He had to grab onto that towel rod, right? But we get to that place. You're like, oh my gosh, I used to be able to do these things and not have any problems with it. And you start going through your old pictures. I told people, I'm like, I'm going to get my money up because I'm getting ab action. I want my 20-year-old abs back. Right? Like,
You can't take it with you, might as well.
Right? Because I'm like that. I'm grieving the loss of that. I remember when I was in my 20s, I could eat whatever I wanted.
Anything. Eat and go to IHOP all the times of night, just eat. Do
Now
that
I'm
now,
in
be
my-
looking like a pregnant dolphin. I can't do none of that
Right?
no more.
I'm in my 30 teens.
Yeah.
I'm in
We
my
all
30
are.
teens. And I can't do that anymore.
So yeah, you have a lot of elders that are going through that process. A lot of elders. I'm not
Yes.
talking about they lived a bad life or anything like that.
they're
It's
just
just the
older.
process of
Mhm.
getting
Yeah.
older,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, health issues and stuff like that. But
Exactly.
just the normal aging. And then you get my grandmother that's 100. She is just thinking everybody should be the way. What are you eating? And da. She makes you feel bad, Lord. You come to her house, she said, what have you been eating? You are getting bigger. I said, damn,
What are
just
you
because you're 100 and look fabulous, that don't mean everybody gonna look fabulous, you know? So in the process of just helping, others, it could even be just normal wear and tear, and people they won't say anything, but you can
But
at
you can
least
see it.
kind of consciously be empathetic, knowing that as these people get older, that they're not able to do what they used to.
Yes.
You know?
And even having some sympathy and space for yourself.
Yeah, because you're
Right.
gonna get there if you don't
Because
do this
right.
plan. Right.
And some of us, are feeling, we wake up some mornings feeling 100.
Mhm.
Like,
You're right. You're right.
I wasn't lying when I said I have to tell my body sometimes.
Mhm.
Okay, so we got to get out of bed.
Yeah.
We make the plan. This is
Yeah.
what's getting ready.
Yeah.
Look, Leg, you better do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Right? But we do that. And we do grieve the loss of that. We grieve the loss of jobs. Right? I sit some days, I'm like, if I still had that job, I would have been like this. And I'm not doing that. Right? But holding that space for ourselves as well. And remembering that we're not by ourselves. We're not alone. We have community. We have support. And for you all, when you're working with parishioners, remembering that it's a parallel process, right? A lot of times when you're saying stuff to them,
You bring it back to yourself.
Exactly. You need to take that medicine yourself,
If not, you're hypocrite.
right? And that, we're here for each other and being able to call on each other. I think that Pastor Wallace, when he said, knowing where you are, like if you're already at 80, ain't got that 20 to give nobody. You don't. Like, I'm at capacity. And leaving it there and not explaining anything.
Right, not feeling obligated because of whatever, right?
Right.
That's my two new words. I'm at full capacity. I don't explain nothing.
That's a complete sentence. That's it. And if somebody can't get that and ask you why, then I'm starting to question why they're in my life.
Yeah, that you helped me just weed you out a little bit. Yeah.
Because if you love me and you care for me, when I say I'm at full capacity, what you're following on, if you're going to follow on, is what can I do for you?
Yeah.
How can I support you?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, well, why can't you? No. You're at full capacity, then that means you need something. You need some support. And not being afraid to say that I need that support.
Yeah.
You all are not robots. You are still human beings that have feelings and are dealing with your own stuff as well.
You're giving
You
your
all say
best.
You're happy all the time. Even you
Yeah.
have stuff that you're dealing with, right? And so you can say, hey, I need some support. I need someone to love me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is, you know, I sit with my dog a lot, and she rather jumps up on the chair, and I can be doing something. She comes over and she looks at me, and she's telling me that I want you to hold me. I say, okay, come on, baby. And if a dog can communicate that to a human, then why can't we do that with the cognitive thinking that we have and say, this is what I need? You know, they say, oh, I want to play. She go get her toy, and she hold her toy in front of me, and it's like, girl, I'm not touching that nasty toy. Okay, I'm going to act like I'm playing with you, you know.
Right.
So if an animal can be conscious enough to know that I want you to play with me, Daddy, or I need to eat, or I need to pee, then we should be able to at least have enough, even if it's just one person we have, or if we just journal it. I need somebody to love me in this way, even if it's not outwardly done.
Yeah.
But then I have to say, okay, am I giving me what I'm asking others to give me? Am I giving me what I'm asking others to give me? And to me, that kind of shuts up a few people, because then they have to think. You know, they have to truly think. So you're telling me to give you something, or I'm asking somebody to give me something that I'm not willing to give myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that, like, that's a huge thing, right? Is recognizing that we have to do things and take care of ourselves. We teach people how to treat us all the time.
Yeah.
With the things that we do and do not accept. Right? So if I say that I need people around me that love me, and I accept people not loving me, then I just taught people they don't have to love me. Right? But if I say I need people around me loving me, and when someone doesn't love me, doesn't show me, I start to pull away from them. Because what I will do with, like, the people in my life, friends and stuff, I will reach out and be like, you know, I'm noticing that I'm the only one calling. I'm the only one checking in.
One way.
So if this is a one-way friendship, let me know. And then I know where this stands. And then I don't reach out again. And I wait to see how they're going to respond. Because I've just told you what I need from you. And if they don't respond and they don't reach out, I'm like, well, I'm good.
Yeah.
I haven't lost anything. As a matter of fact, I have time back now because I'm not trying to get somebody in that didn't want to be here in the first place.
Because that creates bitterness when you are doing something and you're feeling like my doing is not equal to their doing.
Yes.
But they could have called 1 out of the 5, and that could have been their best thing that's the best they could do. So the perspective of doing the person giving their best is not always in quantity.
Exactly.
It's in quality.
Exactly.
You know, I was getting when I had hair, I was getting my locks done one day, and I was in the salon, and you know, y'all women tell all y'all's business while y'all getting your hair done. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening. Lord, it feels like a soap opera in there. So this lady over there, she says, yeah, my husband don't love me the way that I love him. And she went into a list. She said, yeah, I do this, and this, and all he does is this. I said, well, shit, maybe that's the only this that he know how to do. What does he do? Do you ever give him props on what he does versus what he don't do? And my point is that quality to me, I'm learning how to see quality.
Mhm.
Even at the age of 53, I'm looking at quality of young folk, the quality of, I know you didn't ask me to get the pen off my desk, but I know you're respectful.
Mhm.
You know, I'm seeing that they are not doing it to be mean. I'm seeing another perspective, you know? Just because you didn't call me, maybe you got something going on. Maybe you got some chance. So perspective helps me as the person that's helping not have challenges also at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, being understanding from the other side.
Like, and we have to do that. Again, we're not by ourselves. Right? Like, constantly evaluating who you have in your circle and what role they fill in your circle. Because everybody doesn't fill the same role. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you have those friends that you know that, okay, well, I can go hang out with this person and I'll have a good time. And then you have your friends that you know you can call on when you need something.
Mm-hmm.
But don't confuse the two. And because then you're creating a situation, right, where you're not going to get that need.
You setting yourself up.
Yeah, right. So if you know that this isn't a person I can call on when I need them, I'm not going to call on you when I'm ready.
Calling the wrong person.
Exactly. You know, I call you and you call me back 6 months later when you think I'm over the situation,
Right.
right? Because that's the relationship.
Yeah, we
have.
put expectations on people that haven't shown evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We have to. We also have to accept people
Yeah.
where they are
Yeah.
in their journey and where they are in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that the last thing I would like to say is that healing is not about getting over. It's learning to live with it in a way that honors who and what we have lost, while still making room for peace, joy, and new beginnings.
Mhm.
Right? And I think that's really what it is. Right? We have learned to rush healing, and I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have to work. Everything has to fit into a nice little box in order for us to do all of the other stuff that we have to do with our lives. But that's not the way that life is. Right? You're gonna be on that job sometime and it's gonna hit you. As a matter of fact, you're gonna be on that job a lot of times and it's gonna hit you. Because you'll be like, in your case, if he was here, I wouldn't have to work so hard. Because he'd be bringing money, right? If you've lost a relationship and the person is still here, if we were still together and didn't get divorced, I would have had this, right? Because I lost this in the divorce, right? So all of these things, you never know when and how it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
But creating a space, realizing it's a journey, it's not a destination. And that is all I've got. I'll let y'all have that question.
Yeah, that was a song. I think it might have been a song. Lyrics on a song, and the person says, "I'm not mad that you left. I feel so blessed that God gave me the time that I had with you." It's a whole nother perspective. And that, to me, relationships, any of that's what I live by now. Even if it's a pet that passes away, or I lose whatever person or relationship or whatever, that gets me through the day. I am not looking at what I lost. I'm blessed that I'm able to even have memories of you being here, you know? And that's healthy for me.
Well, good sir. Thank you for coming and sharing with us today.
Yeah,
Thank
that was
everyone
good.
for sharing and adding to the
you all.
conversation.
Mhm. Yeah.
Dr. Nick, why don't you give us your company's name?
Actually, I had some resources that I was going to give with you that you could share with your members.
Okay.
And my practice is the Bridges Wellness Group.
And I will have a link to share that with everyone.